All right.
Okay, if you're ready, Dad, please state your name and date of birth.
Oh, go on.
You can manage that, can't you?
I can manage it, but you should know that.
It's just for posterity, Dad. Now, come on, play the game.
Look, I've already done this today for Dyson on the computer by email. They wanted my full name, address, and everything else, and I had done all that.
I've just moved on.
Where were you born, Dad?
Goole,
Where's Goole?
Goole, Yorkshire,
Yorkshire.
on the Humber Estuary, where my father was a customs officer, or was the customs officer, I should say.
Okay.
In charge of the Goole docks.
What's your earliest childhood memory?
Oh, you really want to know that? Be interesting for you because it involves cars. My earliest childhood memory, well, there are two, I'm not quite sure which one comes first, was pedalling in my pedal car up and down the garden path of the house in Westbourne Road, Penarth, where we lived from 1935 to 1937, I think it was. Having moved from Goole at the age of 2.5, I was when we moved, and pedalled my car up and down that garden path, saying to myself, more haste, less speed, more haste, less speed, not knowing what it meant, but something to do with speed was interesting.
And what's your happiest childhood memory?
Happiest? Difficult to say. Very difficult. I had a happy childhood, although my father was always a bit grumpy. In fact, I never saw him laughing. An interesting feature was that I didn't know that grown-up men could laugh and joke until I was 12 years old.
Oh.
I'd never seen a man laugh or joke.
What was your relationship like with your mother and father, would you say?
Well, my mummy was lovely, of course.
Mummies are.
But Daddy was grumpy.
Okay. What was the most trouble you got into as a child?
Think about that one. Trouble. I don't think I ever got into any real trouble as a child. No, or as an adult. I hasten to add. No. Oh, I know. Clive Llewellyn got me into trouble twice. First, when he nicked something in Woolworths and passed it on to me.
What was that?
I don't remember what it was. It was something small, trivial item. And I had it at home. And where did you get that from? And I said, Clive Llewellyn gave it to me. And he nicked it from Woolworths. I don't think I told him he nicked it from Woolworths. So yes, I did, because my mother made me take it back. That's right. I remember going up to Woolworths and giving it back. Whatever it was perhaps a penknife or something that would be of interest to a child. It wasn't anything of any great value, I know that. Well, in those days, Woolworths was the threepenny and sixpenny stores. You couldn't spend more than sixpence on anything. Yes.
What was your first love?
You mean human love or love of something else?
Well, however way you choose to answer that, but I probably meant a human love.
Well, my first girlfriend I remember quite well. But when the love came into it, it's another matter. No, let's think. We never had pets. And I would have liked to have had a dog or a cat in those days, but we had no pets. But I think I might have had a rabbit for a short while. Yeah, I think we did have a rabbit once, but it didn't last long. Chickens, of course, but that was because we wanted the eggs. That wasn't that they weren't pets; they were useful. My first steady girlfriend was Margaret Walker, and I think she's still alive, but I'm not sure. I was been 15 then, and she would have been about the same age.
Tell us a bit about her then.
Hmm?
Tell us a bit about her. How did you meet her?
Goodness knows, AYPA, I think. Anglican Young People's Association that I joined, although I was not a churchgoer, but I had friends who were there and they took me and I joined. But I was never a full member because I had not been baptized. And they would only accept people who had been baptized in the church. So I was allowed to attend their functions, but I was not a full member. I don't know whether that's when I met Margaret. She lived up the top of the town. She was certainly not a neighbour. But I can't say.
Okay. What was your first job or earliest memories of employment?
Oh, I was an article clerk. That's an easy one. I became articled to a firm of solicitors in 1949, January, at the age of 16. And I served as an article clerk for 5 years. Didn't get any money. My father paid £300 for me to be articled, which in those days was probably equivalent to nearly £3,000 today, I would think.
And what did an article clerk do? What did an article clerk do?
Well, we did whatever jobs in and around an office a junior would do. I delivered mail to other solicitors' offices to save postage in and around Cardiff. I took things down to the court office, issuing summonses and things like that. And I went with my principal to the magistrate's court to see how that operated and see him in action. And I studied and passed my exam. At the age of 21, I was qualified.
What do you remember of the day of your first marriage?
That's a difficult one. We were married at All Saints Church, Penarth. Mary's bridesmaids were Anne Cecil and her sister, Beryl. The vicar was the Reverend Vivian Thomas, I think he was, Vivian Thomas. We had a reception in the Masonic Hall. We'd hired the Masonic Hall for the reception.
Was that on Stanwell Road?
Stanwell Road, yes.
Yeah.
And I remember the woman who was the manageress or the wife of the guy who was in charge of the Masonic Hall, an employee there, obviously, steward, if you like. Steward and his wife coming to the front door to meet us as we pulled up in the car. I think we went in the car, it was only about a couple of 100 yards from the church anyway, and saying, "Welcome, Mrs. Craddock." I do remember that. Mary looked a bit surprised.
What about your second marriage?
Oh, well, the second marriage was in church in Debalva, close to the cinema there, that was in North Road. North Road, main road, on the right-hand side, there was a small church. I cannot remember its name, but I do remember being interviewed by the vicar, who was rather, I don't know, something unpleasant about him, before our marriage, to fill in the forms, and Jill was asked the questions first: full name, address, age, and spinster. Yes, well, she was. She was 25. We were married on her 25th birthday. She was coming up to 25 when this took place. Then he turned to me. I gave him my full name and address, and he said bachelor, and I said no. And he looked a bit at me, and I said, I'm a widower. I can remember that. But that's the actual ceremony went off without any hitch. It's a small church, and there weren't all that many guests. I can't remember how many. And then we had a reception at a club on the docks. What was it called? The Ocean Club. The Ocean Club, which was down the docks area of Cardiff, because Jill's family knew the guy who owned the club. I can't remember his name now, and Jill was friendly with their daughter. And that's why we went there. And I remember the taxi journey from the church to the reception, the wedding car journey, sitting on the back seat, and for some reason or other, the car was to brake suddenly, and Jill fell on the floor. And I said something like, oh, can't you wait till we get to bed tonight? Yeah, I do remember that.
Okay. Moving on then. What would you say has been your greatest achievement?
I will tell you that one, as I've told Sean. When I was thinking back over my life and saying, what have I done to justify my existence? I have brought up a family of 4 children. They've all been excellent human beings. They have 9 grandchildren, and they're all okay as well. I said, that's an achievement. That's my contribution.
And just following on from that, what would you say your greatest influences have been, or influence?
My greatest influence is what?
Have been in your life?
Sorry. Postman, is it?
No, it's your window guy putting your bill through.
Oh, he's putting the bill through. Okay. What has been my greatest influence?
Yes.
I haven't got any.
No?
Well, I hope that I have instilled in my children a sense of honesty. I'm sure I have. And behaviour towards others.
Okay. So, how would you sum up how you've lived your life?
I think I've just done it.
You don't
I think I've been very lucky. I know I've lost 2 wives, and some people would say that's very unlucky. But on the other hand, my children have all been healthy and have all grown up to have families. And I think that I have been a reasonable influence over them. And that's all I can say.
Okay. That's lovely. Thank you.